October is World Mission Month, so to celebrate the fine work and legacy of Irish missionaries throughout the world, Susan Call, our producer here, and of course the presenter of Talking Books on Saturday mornings. If it's too early for you on a Saturday morning, you can just download the podcast. Well, Susan Call visited the offices of World Missions Ireland. She met with Shane Halpin, the CEO of Via Torres Christi, and Shane told Susan about his work as a lay missionary in South Africa in the early 1990s as the country was coming out of apartheid.
I arrived in Cape Town in 1994, just really at the time when the whole regime was turning, and we were faced with huge challenges. It was a great unease at the time, but it was a very fascinating time to be there from a historical perspective because of turmoil that was happening within government and local structures. Previously, these were all geared to pretty much one side of the clientele in the country, and now there was looking for fair representation among the black, coloured and Indian communities within the country. So it was a fascinating time to be there and to be involved at grassroots where I was. I was working as a lay missionary or development worker with the Salesians. It's a group of Catholic priests and sisters living in Cape Town, and I was working with the poorest of the poor. I had been working in London prior to this, and I had been living a very different life. I was qualified public relations account manager, working on pan-European accounts in London and living the high life. And I really decided that it was an opportunity to go overseas and to try something different. And so I ended up from a situation where I was earning good salary to earning very little money and literally trying my hand at something totally different.
And what did it mean to be actually a lay missionary?
To be honest, I didn't know I was a lay missionary.
So what did you think you were?
I just always had this understanding that I wanted to give back. So I went out on the understanding that I wanted to help in some way, and I didn't realise that I was going to be calling myself a lay missionary. And it probably wasn't until later life, or later, as I understood my role and understood my motivation for what I was doing there, that I understood that I was a lay missionary. For me, a lay missionary is really about witnessing to what one believes, and however that manifests itself, whether you're an architect or a marketeer or somebody involved in supply chain or whatever it might be. The reality of it is it's about doing something for others, and it's not just I got involved in the whole idea of social entrepreneurship in its early days, and that for me was radical because I had come out of the corporate world and I saw social enterprise as a real opportunity. So lay missionaries cover a multitude.
And one of the legends in South Africa at that time, and one of the legendary Irish missionaries, was the very gifted and very compassionate Father Declan Collins. Can you tell me about Declan?
Yes, so Declan Collins was an amazing man. He is sort of a family relation to mine, so that was one of the reasons why I managed to get out there. Interestingly enough, at the beginning, I thought that nobody wanted my skills in terms of nobody wanted a PR person to work in development or work in the missions, as it was then, as I understood it. And he was the one that said to me, of course we can use your skills. You've got good communication skills, you've got good project management, we can certainly use you. So he was the one that called me out and literally threw me into this whole quagmire, I might say, in terms of a different reality. Declan was one of the true heroes for me. He always put the kids first. He wasn't your typical priest. He had very colourful language, and my other friends, not particularly of the Catholic Church persuasion, would say, I've never seen a Catholic priest like that. He just had this amazing way with him, and the kids loved him. Unfortunately, he ended up on the wrong side of a number of people.
And ultimately, he put his life on the line. As like many missionaries, they're usually the last man standing when everyone else has left.
The way he died, it was very sad, because he moved out to the township just outside Johannesburg at that stage. It was about 3 or 4 years after I first went out to South Africa, and he was in watching rugby, of all things, his favourite game, and a knock came to the door. He was on his own, and some sort of altercation took place. He was hit over the head with a brick and stabbed a number of times, and it was just absolute devastation for me.
And in the 20 years, Shane, since you've been visiting South Africa, do you see much change?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it can be overwhelming at times. You know, the amount of poverty, the amount of deprivation, the challenges that they face every single day can be overwhelming. But the good things, I mean, I got involved in a project there called The Big Issue, which I'm sure you've seen it over here. It began in London. It was one of the saving graces for me because it gave me an opportunity to give people work, give people an opportunity to get out of poverty. And as a result of that involvement and my involvement with The Big Issue in South Africa, it has become a saving grace for many thousands of people. So I don't think I could ever live as an ordinary human being in a society that is so deprived and so much poverty if I wasn't able to do something positive.
And today you're now the new Chief Executive of Viatoris Christi.
Viatoris Christi has a huge history in Ireland. It dates back to 1960. It emerged out of a group of UCD students who wanted to do something for migrants in London at the time, and they wanted to go over to support those that had left Ireland at the time. 1960s was a time of great upheaval. Youngsters were going over to London and they had no family support, no parish support and whatever. And these UCD students from all walks of life decided they wanted to do something. That's how it originated as a support in that respect. That time it was just around, in the 1960s, 65, we're talking about the Vatican II. And at that time it was a radical decision for lay people to get involved in traditional religious work. We came from a country that had priests and religious sisters doing all the work, and this was an opportunity for lay people to get involved. So, I mean, it was absolutely radical. In terms of the future of missionaries, as we call it, I suppose they have had a lot of bad press because of the whole church scandals and what lay people do, and that we're some sort of holy joes. I mean, that's far from it. In nowadays, we're bringing a whole range of different skills to Africa and to other continents, of course, as well as at home. There is a mission at home, and I think we also get criticised for not supporting the home mission, and that is a very important as well. That there are people that are lonely, there are people that need help in projects in Ireland, and that also needs support. And I think the Irish are amazing in that respect. The way that they reach out, they call themselves, we're not religious, we're not spiritual, we're not this. They're inclined to say we're none of these things because it puts us in a box. But actually, we're a very good race when it comes to helping people.
And 100 years' time, where do you see the missionary movement globally?
I would always say that there's going to be a need for supporting people, and I always believe that we've 2,000 years of the church in Ireland, we've 2,000 years of Jesus Christ. It is changing. Some say it's not changing fast enough, but for me, it's really about witnessing to something bigger than yourself, that there is a continuum in life, and that we are all God's children.
And that was our producer, Susan Cahill, talking to Shane Halpin, the CEO of Viatoris Christi. And of course, Sue's programme is on Sunday mornings at 7am. Of course, I'm never up at 7am on a Sunday, but I do listen back to it as a podcast. And of course, that piece was for Mission Month this October, and it was great to talk to hear there about Shane's work as a lay missionary in South Africa. Well, we're going to take a quick break.